Everyone for coming today. My name is Samuel Eyitayo. It's my honor to welcome you all to this special event marking the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. Today we gather to explore a critical theme, the role of innovation in fueling an accessible and equitable world. This event is a powerful reminder of the importance of inclusion and innovation in breaking barriers and creating opportunities for all. Today is a day that is set aside to celebrate the remarkable achievements of individuals with disabilities and to reaffirm our collective commitment to building a world where accessibility and equity are not privileges but rights. Today, we are privileged to have with us an incredible lineup of speakers who have dedicated their lives to advancing the cause of disability rights and inclusion. The first person I will introduce is David Anyaele. He's the current chairman of Abia State Commission for Welfare of Disabled Persons, whose advocacy has transformed several and countless lives. Udodinma Egwuonwu is also a passionate disability rights advocate and managing director of Yuddies Healthy Foods, inspiring us with her leadership and entrepreneurship spirit. Last but not the least is Theophilus Odaudu, is a program manager for West Africa at the Disability Rights Fund, who continues to champion innovative solutions for an inclusive society. Today's discussion promises to be enriching and thought-provoking as we delve into how innovation can be harnessed to fuel progress and equality for persons with disabilities worldwide. Before we begin, I would like to encourage every one of us here today, whether in person or online, to actively participate in this dialogue. Please feel free to share your thoughts, your questions, or ideas as we together discuss these issues towards achieving actionable solutions. Once again, welcome to today's program. Please, let's make this few minutes together an inspiring and impactful session. Before I hand you over to the moderator for today, that's Josephine, I will quickly want to read in part the biography that I have here. I will read for David Obina Anyaele. Is an IVLP plus Gold Star. Is a disability rights activist, motivational speaker, development consultant with over 20 years of experience focusing on inclusion and rights of persons with disabilities. When visiting Freetown in Sierra Leone in 1999, he was attacked, captured and set on fire by the Revolutionary United Front, RUF, rebels at Sierra Leone. After his two limbs were forcefully chopped off because of his identity as a Nigerian. Today, Daniel is a special assistant on persons with disabilities to the governor of Abia State. He is also the chairman of Abia State Disability Commission. I will want to quickly move to the tail end. He has so many awards, several of them. The latest is the one that he got in 2021, Defender of Justice Award by the Committee for Defense of Human Rights. He is married with a girl and 2 boys. I will turn the whole program over to Josephine to fire on with the questions. Over to you, Josephine.
Good morning, everyone, and it's a pleasure to have you all here this morning. So, our first question. Okay. Our first question is to Mr. David. Please, can you tell us about your work in this community?
Mr. David? Yeah. Is the question for me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I didn't get the question right because I was having technical issues here.
Okay, sir. So I said, can you tell us a little about your experience doing this work?
Okay, wow. Thank you so much. My experience doing this work, wow.
Yes, sir.
I must thank you so much for bringing me to be part of this conversation today. I'm really grateful for the opportunity. I'm alive today is by God's mercy because from the profile my Oga somewhere read, you will agree with me that it's just by a piece of luck that made me to be here and sharing my experience. I didn't join the social movement willingly. I was conscripted into the disability struggle by reason of my experience Freetown Sierra. Not just my experience in Freetown Sierra, but my experience coming back to Nigeria, my experience interfacing with state system and processes, my experience with family.
Hello?
Associated. Can you hear me?
We lost connection with you for a moment, but we can hear you now, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. So, as I said, that exposed me to my interface trying to assess rehabilitation, reintegration back to the society after I was discharged from the Nigerian Army Military Hospital, Yaba, in August. Discrimination and isolation mean to a person with disabilities, and that led me to engaging on disability issues. Engaging on disability issues from first of all as a charity issue. I started disability issue as a charity because I was doing a peer support program for newly amputees, and in the course of doing that with newly amputees, I saw the cost of being a person with disability is very expensive. The cost and consequences, it was not cheap. So after observing that, I discovered that pursuing disability issues or engaging the society on disability issues may not be more realizable using charity model. The charity model where we seek for access to assistive devices or rehabilitation and integration only. But if we apply a right-based or social model of disability where we remove barriers or work together to ensure that barriers are removed, to ensure that people with disabilities are right holders who are able to participate in the society on equal basis with others. By so doing, it also exposed me to what institutional barrier is all about, the extent of institutional actors they respond to disability issues. My work on disability issues has been a mixed one. And areas of rehabilitation, it has been very stressful and painful. Areas of struggling for access and participation, you meet a lot of barriers. But the success stories we have achieved by securing legislations at the state levels, at the national level, where we secure the passage of discrimination against persons with disability prohibition act, gave us a big relief, excitement that the future we desire is possible. Getting it at the state level, where states, including my state, Abia State, have passed a disability law, not only passing the law, but also putting in place mechanism to ensure that the objective of the law is realized. So the governor, in his wisdom, from his campaign manifesto and his policy framework, explicitly explained that it is his desire that people with disabilities participate in leadership. Dr. Neshomo Oti is explicit about it, and he believes that if he will achieve this, people with disabilities will provide leadership in that area. That's why the appointment of a special assistant on person with disability to his office, trying to guide the policy framework, trying to guide state response to disability issues, trying to also support ministries, departments, and agencies and their response on disability issues. Not only that, he went further to establish Abia State Commission for Persons with Disabilities. The commission become a state statutory agency that will be focusing on disability issues, holding both state, individual, private sectors account on their response to disability issues, supporting to lift the burden of disabilities from the shoulders of parents, family members, and bringing it to the state for the state to take responsibilities around it. We are just a new agency. And as a new agency, one of the first things we need to do is to get our strategy right in order to achieve some of these things. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. David. Please, I would like Ms. Egwuonwu to tell us, what do you understand by the theme for this year for commemorating the International Day for Persons with Disabilities? That's the role of innovation in fueling an accessible and equitable world.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for having me.
Good morning.
Yes, so it's innovation. Those are the keywords: innovation, accessibility, and equity. How innovation would give us access. It's about giving us dignity, giving us a well-being, giving us opportunities like a bridge, giving us access into lifestyle, into being as persons with disability. So we are being asked what exactly innovation is going to do for us in getting through to gaining the access and equity in being. That's what it's about.
Okay. So in what ways have you been able to maximize technology?
As an individual with
yes,
or as an entrepreneur with a disability?
Both, ma.
Okay. So I'm a polio survivor. Polio entered my life when I was 3 at a very young age. So growing up in Nigeria, like every other young girl, I dreamed big. I wanted everything for myself. I wanted to carve a meaningful path for myself. But then polio happened. So my own polio shortened my leg, the right side of my leg, and I have to walk with that swag, kind of. So, but I think I'm kind of privileged because my mother is a teacher. So I actually had education, unlike what other persons with disability have. So I actually went to school. I had that big dreams of being somebody in life. But as a woman with a disability, the world wasn't designed It was not at all designed with me in mind. So I have to climb stairs, and I'm looking at the staircase and I'm wondering how am I gonna get there? There's no way I can jump into buses like regular persons. Nobody thought about me while designing this thing. So it's quite a hostile environment for me. Even as a university student, I went to a foremost Nigerian university, and I read accountancy actually. My class is on a 2-story building, the top floor of a 2-story building. It was not fun. I had to jump those flights of stairs, literally, like 3-5 times in a day. So it was not very convenient. By the time I'm done with school or I even get into class, I'm already exhausted. Nobody thought about me while doing all those things. And then I eventually came out from school. Employers doubted my abilities, not because of my qualifications. I came out from school with a good qualification, but no, nobody gave me that chance. But because of my physical challenges, it was a harsh, very harsh, hostile environment that Nigeria portrays. Nobody gave me the opportunity to actually do things. And that's what pushed me into entrepreneurship. I lived in the north. I lived in Kano State. I was actually born in Kano State. So I learned how to do little things. And so when I relocated back to the east, where I presently am, I started up with making little kulikuli snacks for sale. So both with my education, mine was set apart. So when I package and I try to make it very easy for everybody. So it's my way of proving that persons with disabilities are not defined by their limitations, but by their potential to innovate and to contribute into the larger society. Running a business came with its own challenges as well, because transportation becomes something, logistics. I had to move from where I am to somewhere else. The societal stigma, it meant so much. I had to work twice as hard as and earn trust and respect from everybody. But this, I had to realize that my experience as a person with a disability gave me a unique perspective. For instance, I sourced my raw materials from the north. I developed cost-effective and easier ways of running all these things. And it was coming from my experience, from my lived experience as a person with a disability. Today, my entrepreneurial journey is more about making profits. It's not much more about making profits. It's more about inspiring a change. That somebody with a disability can actually break even where every other person thinks they can't, and then make a difference. I try to make it easier for everybody, because I have first-hand information, knowledge of how these things work, like inclusive packaging, accessibility. I make my things. Each time I have to distribute it, I teach people how to, utilize my packaging, because it's not just the regular. So I think innovation has actually helped me in making all these things. It's not just about the technology, it's about the practical solutions that have allowed to be a part of me. That's what I think it's about.
Thank
I'm
you
not
so
sure
much, ma'am.
in what I've said.
No, yeah, you have touched the topic. You've even analyzed how your education has empowered you to impact the people around. And one thing I can glean from what you said is your experience has made you to be holistic in your approach to
Yes,
solving problems that are even related to people with disabilities.
yes.
So I'd like to ask David, what technologies are available for people living with disabilities that will make them to be more inclusive? Hello, David. Are you still with us? Okay. So, Udo, you can take the question, ma'am.
Okay, sorry, I got
I'm
distracted.
with you. I'm with you. Sorry, I'm just navigating with the technology, and you know what that technology means. Technology means different thing to different person.
Yes. So
So
the question, did you hear the question, sir?
yeah, you are asking about the extent technology have helped me as an individual. Am I correct?
No, I said what technologies are available in this
Okay.
present time for people that are living with disabilities that will help them to be more inclusive in the
Thank you so
society.
much. Thank you. Just as I was trying to say, technology means different thing to different persons with disability. To an amputee, it means different thing. To a blind, to a person on wheelchair, or a person who is a polio survivor, or a deaf person. I will start from my own background as an amputee. Technology means ability to access, a prosthesis that will be able to help me to interact with myself and my environment on equal basis with others. So getting such technology as an upper limb amputee, I have a limb loss below able. So if I'm able to have access to my electrically controlled below able prosthesis, I'm good to go. I've been using high-tech prosthesis since 2003, in which I acquired a Mayo, which helps me to grip, to write, to help myself, to feed myself, to drive my car. That's what that technology does for me. I open it, I grab it. It's high-tech technology. To a deaf person, technology means different thing to him as well. So you look at where you have something like, a screen reader, voice assistant, whereby if somebody calls you on phone, to what extent will you be able to pick the phone and answer and hear the individual, as the person is, or understand the number or the individual that is calling you. So that what an individual with blind may look forward to see how he can be able to use a computer using JAB technology that has to do with a screen reader. Then to a person who's on crutches or wheelchair, to what extent would the RAM be made accessible depending on the length or size of the staircase involved? Or to what extent will you be able to access elevator that will take him to any of the floor he or she wants to interact with? These are the things that technology does for different persons with disability at different conditions that will help them to be able to understand. The same thing with a deaf person. To what extent will there be an AI-driven sign language interpreter on the screen, whereby why news is going on the television, why discussion are going on the media, television in particular, there will be AI-driven sign language interpreter communicating to him, or even typing it on the screen for him or her to appreciate what that is going on. So technology is a leveler of individuals within the society, whereby what you can't ordinarily do without technology, you're able to do it and be able to participate and relate within the community. And that is what is helping people with disabilities across the world. And for them to achieve that, they must acquire the basic, expected skill, and that is going to school. That is being able to read and write. That is being able to, if you see what is written on the paper or what is written on the screen, you're able to read it, you're able to analyze it and apply it in what you are doing. Imagine me using a laptop without hands. I remember the first time I wanted to learn how to use computer. I went to one computer training school in Jibowu in 2001. It was a big-time international computer training school beside the Yaba College of Technology. And I was told that I can't use computer, that by reason of my disability, no finger, how can you use computer? That you can't use computer. But today, I use computer, I type, I do all sorts of things with my system by reason of technology. So, as I said, the basic thing, the basic of all is education by an individual with disability. If a person with disability have basic education, primary, secondary, tertiary, that one is better. But getting basic education that will be able to help you to see technology, study it, analyze it, and understand how useful it may be, or even advise the producer of such technology on how they can configure it to meet your need. I think technology is a big relief. Among all the things God has helped man to create, technology is one of the things that we have created that is making life easier for all.
Thank you. I don't know if, Udo, do you have something to say about it, or we should go to the next question? Are you with us? Okay. Okay, so while we wait for Ms. Udo, Mr. David, let me ask you another question. Are there any risks associated with relying on technology for accessibility, and how can they be mitigated? You've mentioned different kinds of technology. So, are there any risks associated with relying on technology for accessibility, and how can they be?
There are risks associated with reliance on technology. There are risks associated with it. And that is simply because those of us that are living in this part of the world, where there's no constant power supply, how do you power your technology when you don't have other manual ways of doing whatever thing you want to do? So when they seize the light, you are relying on technology, you are cut off completely. Let me use my own experience as an amputee using Mayo electrical control below able prosthesis. So I depend on using Mayo to do my daily activities. And suddenly the battery, there is no light for me to charge my artificial hand battery. What do I do? Where do I go? So I'm just cut off completely. As I speak to you, my artificial limbs has packed up. And I have a medical bill of $15,000 for me to fix it, excluding flight tickets going abroad, excluding my DSA to stay per day and stay in the residence or wherever, while the artificial limbs, is fixed. So when you rely on it, when you depend on it, and some of these factors that are known within our own environment begin to manifest, it becomes an issue. It becomes a critical issue in the sense that when these things are not available, you run the risk of being collapsed, on your dependence on technology. So while you acquire skill on use of technology, while you interact with technology, you should, as an individual with disability, you should equally have a backup manual within yourself, that when technology fails, as it always fails in this part of Nigeria, because if our national grid did not fail, our local grid will fail. So when the national grid or local grid fail and it does not support your technology, what do you do? So these are the risks associated with it, because it will displace you, it will cut you off from further interaction, whereby you have manual mechanism of addressing your need. You can fall back to your manual mechanism and be able to continue with what you are doing. So that's the situation we find in this part of the world. Technology is good in Nigeria, but the backup systems within our society to sustain technology usage and application is still very weak. And while we rely on it, we should equally rely on it with a backup, so that when it occurs, we won't be stressed in such a way that we'll be depressed. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I like to inform you that we have American spaces, 26 of them joining us in this program in 22 cities. And I can see American Corner Calabar, we have an interpreter there. I think we have some people with disabilities in the room. So as we go along in this program, we'll be taking questions from these 26 spaces. But before we go to our audience, I'd like to ask, what role do governments play in promoting innovation to improve accessibility for persons with disabilities? You told us initially that in Abia State, the government, they are doing some things. I would like for you to mention some of those things to us. David.
Yeah. So what the government is doing now in terms of improving the quality of life is one, establishing a mechanism to address this issue. And establishing that mechanism to address the issue is by appointing a person with disability as a special assistant to the governor in order to begin to document, to analyze, and provide solutions to the state around it. Two, the establishment of the national Abia State, we have 5-member board. All of them are persons with disabilities. And they are from different clusters of disabilities. We have the deaf, we have the blind, we have the person with albinism, we have physical challenge. So what that means is that they will be able to respond appropriately and advise where necessary what it is required in order to intervene based on experience, based on knowledge, based on skill, based on best practices. So for us as a state, setting up this mechanism is very important to us because it ensures sustainability, it ensures consistency, it ensures ownership. These are some things we have done. Can you hear me?
Your video is interfering with your audio. So maybe you should switch off your video so that the connection can be stable.
Yeah,
Great.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. So by establishing this mechanism, it's a demonstration of government resolve to lay the ground norms, that will accelerate the process. So this year, we just finished doing our budget, and that some of these issues are properly addressed moving forward in 2025. So we are looking forward as a commission, as an agency that focuses on addressing this issue, both the state level and community level are able to respond on some of the accessibility needs of our way in supporting people. Can you hear me?
We can, but it's failing.
I'm having a phone calls are coming in on the line. The phone I'm using to interact with you. So from time to time they are calling me, but I'm blocking them as they are calling. These are village people. Will not allow village people to interact these conversations.
That's okay, sir. We got you. Thank you very much. Miss Udo, I don't know if you would like to say something about what the government is doing. Even as an entrepreneur, what support are they giving to people that are living with disabilities? Where you are?
I'm in Abia State.
Okay.
Yes, so I think the government, like my boss just said, well, my boss summarized everything, but as an individual, I think so coming from an individual perspective, since I am not in the government, I think the government is doing well for a new government. It's not so well, but they are doing well for a new government. There has been series of meetings with persons with disabilities, and I know that they give scholarships to persons with disability. So if you say, so here in Abia State, you are there and you need to go to school, I know that the government would help. I also know that the government provided some fund for persons with disability concerning their health. So like you are living in Abia State and you have a disability, there are hospitals in every ward that caters for you. I think it is free, even though I have not utilized that. But it is free, but probably to an extent. I have not utilized that. I have not accessed that healthcare because, of course, my health has been relatively stable. But I know that that is something that the government of Abia State has done in the last couple of months. They've also supported startups. I know that because even though I also have not assessed that, but I do know that they gave startups to some persons with disability. I think that's about what I know about that.
Okay, thank you very much. So
Thank you.
if you have questions from spaces, you can chat it or raise your virtual hand. So while we wait for that, I would like to ask you, Ms. Udo, when you were talking to us initially, you spoke about the challenges that you face even as a student, because
Yes.
during that time, there were no facilities for people living with disabilities in your school.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
can relate with that portion that you spoke about, how you need to take the flight every day 5 times. So I would like to ask, what policies or standards do you think are necessary that our government and the public and private schools, companies, workplaces can put in place going forward to make technology design accessible to people living with disabilities in Nigeria?
Firstly, I think government in its generality should have persons with disabilities when they design anything. Is it a software? Are you designing a software? It has to be inclusive. And how is it going to be inclusive? You have to have persons with disability in that team. Is it a building? Are you designing whatever it is we are designing as a society? All universal designs should come with a standard, and persons with disabilities should be part of the team. Because you cannot speak for me. I am the one living this experience. I have to be there to tell you that I need a ramp to climb your 6-story building. If there's no ramp, there should be an elevator. So things like that, those are the policies. Then when they subsidize these innovations so that it could be handy for persons with disabilities, because these days things are so expensive. Not just these days, innovation is expensive, technology is expensive. My boss talked about how he's expected to spend so much for his prosthetics. So are there policies in place to subsidize these things for persons with disabilities? Because we advocate for integration. We need to be part of the system. But in being part of the system, it's quite expensive. So we need the costs of these things to be greatly subsidized. Then you talk about education, special education support, scholarship programs.
Yes.
All these things should be put in place. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. We have hands raised in Oshogbo and Uyo. Mr. David, I'll come back to you. I have a question for policymakers. I want to ask what you are doing about that. But let's take Oshogbo. Oshogbo, can you unmute and ask your question?
Good morning, Udodinma. Thank you for this wonderful presentations. So some of my questions has actually been answered by the speakers, but there's this one I want to actually ask. So I've heard from various speakers what the state governments are doing or individuals are doing. So I want to ask, is there a body that's actually into checking some of these things or the accountability of these things? I mean, trying to hold government accountable on all these things. Is there a kind of maybe a federal body, or is just everybody working in silos from different parts of the country? Thank you.
Mr. David, you answered that question. Are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still with you.
Did you hear his question?
Yes, I got his question very well. In terms of
please go ahead.
In terms of holding to account.
Do you have a body that holds the government to account? Do you have a national body?
Yes, in terms of national body or civil society groups on disability issues, starting from network organizations like JONAPID to different clusters, be Association of the Blind, the Deaf, the Physical Challenged, Abilism. We also have individual organizations that are working on disability issues like Center for Citizens with Disabilities. However, the most effective accountability holder ought to be the state mechanism on disability issues that we have at the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities. At the state level, we have state agencies on persons with disabilities. These state institutions and mechanisms are better positions to hold all actors, all players within the sector to account. So what that means is that when complaint is being made on areas of violation, it will be made to state institution capacity and instrumentality for any of the anybody to order. These are the approaches to do this. Civil society organizations should equally go ahead by also monitoring the extent of compliance to some of these provisions and extent of people with disabilities, their access and participation or benefiting from these provisions, thereby also getting real-time evidence-based findings and making recommendations where state institutions may not be able to see or appreciate faster, with civil society organizations or non-profit going about generating evidence, presenting the evidence, and also making recommendations. It will go a long way to supporting the work state institutions are doing, just as I said, at the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, at the state, like our state in Abia State Commission for Persons with Disabilities. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, Uyo, please unmute and ask your question.
Okay, good morning, and thank you very much for this session. I love what is going on. I love the talks, and it has really inspired me. So my question is this: I'm a product designer. I work with designing user interfaces for mobile apps and websites. So I want to ask: is there an existing database for people with disabilities? Because the new innovation in terms of user experience design is designing for people with disabilities. That is to make it inclusive, make it accessible to people, not to leave them, sideline them. So my question is there an existing database or an active community in terms of user research so that you get to know these people? Because we have to communicate with them, get to know their problems, get to know their issues using mobile apps and websites to be able to design something that's going to help them. So is there an existing database or an active community to, like for me, to be able to reach out to them to get the required data I want when building my mobile app? So that's my question.
All right, thank you very much. Who would like to take that? Udo or David?
Okay, let me respond to the issue he raised. Sorry, Udo. The issue of data. Data means different things to different people. So when people talk about data, some people will be looking at figures on population. When people talk about data, people look at processed data that speaks about the issue and some of the recommendations based on other people's work around the issue. So it depends on the kind of data you are looking for. If you're looking at data around population or people with disabilities, of course, there are people with disabilities, they are users, depending on the type of solutions you want to make. There are, as I said, there are different clusters of people with disabilities. They have national bodies like National Association of Persons with Physical Disabilities, Nigerian Spinal Cord Injured Association of Nigeria, National Association of Persons with Nigerian National Association of the Deaf, and Nigeria Association of the Blind. All these are associations whereby if you interface with them, they have membership at the local, state, and national level. They can be able to interface with them and understand the kind of solutions you are thinking about, or share their problem with you so you can be able to configure the kind of response you intend to make in order to make technology user-friendly to them. So if you're also looking at a body of work that has been done by a form of others who have interfaced this area, of course, if you go online, you get some body of work that have been done around studies on people with disabilities. You can equally identify some of the issues of critical importance to them and see how you can find solutions that can support them. Thank you.
Uyo, are you satisfied? Do you know where to go for the information? You know where to go for the information. Thank you for that innovative question. Thank you. So we go to American Corner, Calabar. Please, can you unmute and ask your question? American Corner, Calabar, you have your hand up.
So yeah, doing your thing.
Do you have a question, or we should move to Joss?
No, yeah, about to ask. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, so let me read the question.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first thing is, sorry, let me start this way. Okay, so he's asking first. He says thank you. He says thank you for the opportunity to be here. Upon his arrival, he saw that there is accessibility for the senator representing persons with disability in University of Calabar. So his question is that he wants some of his students to always access the facility here in the center. That what are the provisions so that when they come to use the computer, the students will be able to access it without challenges. So his question is about technology using the computer. That's what his question is. Did you hear me?
Okay. Yes, that's accessibility of technology. Is it at the American Corner, Calabar?
Yes, ma'am.
Or generally?
That's like he said, he's representing the students with disability in the University of Calabar. That some of them want to set laptops here. When they come, they want that what is the provision to be able to use that laptop for persons that are visually impaired.
Okay, okay. Mr. David, do you want to take that, or Udo wants to help us?
I thought it was an internal question for the corner, giving them access to the equipment.
They want you to share from your. They want you to share from your experience, where you have people that are impaired, visually impaired. How were they able to cope with the use of the computer? I think David was telling us the different kinds of technology peculiar to different disability and how they were able to navigate it. Yes.
Yes, I think they know how they do it. It's imputed into the computer where they use it.
Okay.
I'm not sure how they do it, but they use it.
Okay. So American Corner Calabar, I think we should discuss that. Then we see how we can go about it. Is that okay?
I will only suggest we need to understand the category of people with disabilities that are involved. Because when you use the general
visually
term,
impaired.
so visually impaired
persons. Yes.
Great. So if it's a visually impaired individual, we need to understand whether the individual know how to use laptop or the person is using Braille. The people that are also using audio, we would like to know what kind of audio they are using. So this will determine the extent or the kind of assistive device that is peculiar to the individual involved. So if we use, I'm blind, there are some blind guys that they don't use Braille, but they use computer very well. So in using computer, there's a software they use, they call it JAV. So that JAV helps them to do a screen reading. There's something applicable to the phones they use. An average blind person uses a phone that also do a talking phone. So if a number is called, he will tell you, oh, Mr. David is calling. Or if you save the number. If the number is not saved, it will read the number 080, this and that is calling. Then the individual will pick it and answer. He knows the person that is using it. So as a blind person, you should be able to know your level or the extent of the technology you are using or the ones you want to know how to use. So by so doing, we'll be able to tailor a response that is specific to your need. Because as I said, what Mr. A needs in assistive device is different from what Mr. B needs in assistive device. What is done is that an individual is examined properly, understand his peculiarity, understand his environment, understand some of the his vision for the future. So by so doing, a technology will be designed to respond to his peculiarity so that he can be able to maximize it. That is the type of thing I'm using. I'm using a prosthesis. I'm using my electrical control below able prosthesis because I'm a double amputee. I don't have fingers. My 2 limbs were chopped off. So in using the 2 prostheses, I'm able to write, I'm able to drive, I'm able to use computer, I'm able to do, take care of myself at least 70% of my personal needs. So that's what suits me. I hear people coming to me to say, oh, Mr. David, there are these prostheses that the fingers are moving, all of them will be moving. Oh, you will need it. I tell them I don't need it. They will say, what do you mean you don't need such a prosthesis that your fingers will be needed? I say, such prosthesis that his fingers are moving is very technologically, it's a high-tech technology. And if it's spoiled here in Obuahia, nobody will fix it for me. Even if there is a place that will fix, I'll first of all travel to Lagos, from Abuja, I'll start looking for somebody in Kenya or South Africa or Egypt. If I can't get, then I start going to Europe, be it London, America, or Germany. With exchange rate of 170 naira per dollar, you calculate it, I know what is going to cover from your pocket. You know how these things work now. So these are the issues we are confronted with. But as I said, as an individual with disability, you must understand your peculiarity, you must understand what we do, so that we will not use access to complicate it. And I want them to understand this. When we speak these things to individuals that don't understand disability issues, it leads them to confusion. they'll be like, what are we going to do? I don't know. They are special need people. And when they classify you as a special need person, your case is closed because they are looking for experts that will address your need. Yes, before they will get the experts, year 1 budget has passed, year 2 budget has passed, year 3 budget has passed, and you'll be there struggling with yourself. So it's always good for you as an individual to know yourself, to know your peculiarity, and when you are asked the extent you can be supported, you'll be able to say in specific terms, this is what I need. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we quickly, because we really ran out of time, so we quickly move to Jos, then we take Yola, then Abeokuta, then Ibadan. So Jos, please quickly unmute and ask your question. Direct.
Good morning, everybody. I am Uchenna Madueke. I'm a woman with a disability called cerebral palsy. I want to ask my question. How can David answer the question? How can your program accommodate people with intellectual disability and cerebral palsy? These are disabilities we forget, but they are around us. I'm a woman with cerebral palsy. How does your program accommodate people with intellectual disability and cerebral palsy? Thank you.
So let's go to David. That question is for you. So let's go to Yola. Please quickly unmute and ask your question. Yola.
Education. My question for the first time that there is a commission on people with disability. I don't know exactly who formed this commission. Is it a government commission? Is it a commission coming from
Yola, we can't
society
hear you. Please, can you move close to the mic?
Just off the mic, let's see.
Okay. So the question is, where do we get information about this commission for people with disability? Hardly do we hear anything, especially in the states or even at the national level. My issue is that we need to find out exactly what the commission is doing and where we can contribute individually. There are issues to contribute in terms of cultural challenges, technological challenges, and all of that. One would need to know exactly where we are, what the commission is actually doing about these areas, and where people can get the information to the commission so we can contribute ideas. Okay. Some of us have various experiences from overseas, from Nigeria, and all that. For me, I think there is a major problem with the cultural challenges. How we take disability, we need to start from there so people can understand. There has to be information and all that before we move on to the technology. We don't resolve the cultural problems, the traditional practices, so that it will be very impossible to go to technology. So we need to start from there. So we need a commission. We want to have information on the commission so we can contribute ideas. Okay. To see exactly where they're coming from and what they're doing. Thank you.
We got you, sir. Abeokuta, please, can you quickly unmute and ask your question? Ibadan, please get ready. Abeokuta. Ibadan, please, can you unmute and ask your question? Why David prepared to answer the question?
Abeokuta is ready.
Yes, ma'am. My question
go ahead.
My question is, those in the rural areas, how are they going to get this information that we are passing now? Those who are in the rural, how can they get this information that we are passing now? Thank you.
Is that Ibadan?
Yes, ma'am.
That's why you are in this program. All the people in the spaces, that is why we are here. We are to go back to our communities and to enlighten our communities on the information that we got today.
Thank you.
Abeokuta, please go ahead, unmute.
Okay, good afternoon. It's still morning. Good afternoon already. Good afternoon, everyone. From Abeokuta, one of our participants was trying to know if there is a platform or like a website where people living with disabilities, opportunities are made available for people living with disabilities.
Okay.
If there is a website that is strictly for those who are living with disabilities, so they can access opportunities.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. So, Udo, do you have any of such websites that you want to share with our audience of opportunities that are available for people living with disabilities that you know of?
Personally, I'm not sure. There are various platforms, like my boss talked about, from the rural, from local government to state to national. There are websites, there are associations. I think among themselves, they share these opportunities. It's more like a word of mouth to the other. So I'd advise that the individual who asks this question should get in touch with those around him, the people in his locality with disabilities. We share these opportunities among ourselves.
Okay, thank you very much. So,
You're
David,
welcome.
can you address the question from Joss? How can your program for people living with disabilities accommodate persons with cerebral palsy and intellectual disabilities? Or do we have association for this group of people that you would like to share with our audience from Joss?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. The right from at organizational level, from the private sector experience, we don't exclude any cluster of people with disabilities, in particular the persons with intellectual disability. So whatever thing we are doing, we make sure they participate. The challenge we have with the intellectual cluster of people with disability is that most of the times we don't see individual with intellectual disabilities, coming out to, they are not visible most times. So you see parents of the individuals coming to present them in program and activities. And personally, I'm not in support of it. Here in Abia State, what I'm doing is that I have of individual with individual to ensure that they participate in all our program activities, including trainings outside the state. I know of Chizaram Machuku, who is also intellectually disabled, who has intellectual disability, and she has been participating in programs we are doing both in the state and outside the state. In fact, one of our frustration was that anytime she wants to come out for some of these programs, her parents will be angry with her, will try to restrain her or stop her from going because they have this thinking that she's vulnerable and anything can happen to her. But she has continued to push, and the same thing is applicable to most individuals with cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, or autism. They want to participate. Their family members do not allow them to participate. So when there are program activities, the family members tend to represent them. And on my part, as a head of an agency here in Abia State, I say no to it. We must pull out our own with intellectual disability for them to participate on issues that affect them so that they can be able to have ownership and provide leadership in that regard. So we include individuals with intellectual disability, and we also building our database to ensure that we have good number of them participate in our program. That having said that, I had the individual who was talking about awareness creation, contact of commissions at the national. opportunities and contact
opportunities available for people in
opportunities available for people with disabilities. You know, in terms of opportunities, there are slim opportunities for people with disabilities, and that is why these commissions are coming up in order to open space to ensure that their spaces are made available to them. If you look at this year's theme for the International Day for Persons with Disabilities, it says amplifying the leadership of persons with disabilities for an inclusive and sustainable future. What that means is that it focuses on bringing out people with disabilities wherever they are, for them to be able to play leadership position on issues of critical importance to them, in particular around leadership. Where people with disabilities are there, they'll be able to begin to support government at all levels in creating the kind of opportunity they desire. An average person in government do not know what people with disabilities need. All they know that they need bread, they need butter, they need rice, they need a wheelchair, they need clutches, they need a white cane. But these are not the core issue people with disabilities are struggling with. Their core issues is access, is participation, is equal opportunity. Where there is opportunity, can they be able to participate? Where there is employment, would they be able to apply and be allowed to pass through the process based on their skill and competence, not necessarily because they have disability and somebody will move them out and say, oh, we don't have opportunity for you. Here in my state, if you find yourself being discriminated on the grounds of disability, all you need to do, just petition us. Petition us. We'll go and bring out the person that is involved, because we have zero tolerance on disability. And for an individual that have suffered discrimination and harmful practices for over 25 years, I don't think I'll be able to stand and wait or see or witness an individual with disability suffered any form of discrimination. So we are out to support all. In terms of national commissions, we have National Commission for Persons with Disability. It's in Abuja, in particular Plateau House, a central business area in Abuja. That's where the office is. The Abia State Commission for Persons with Disability is located at the Government House, political block, Government House, Omoahia. If you come here, we need help, we need support, we need technicians, people who have, a capacity and capability in different areas to come and support us. So please, you can call for my telephone, the American Space Center. They will give you, please, I need help. Anything you can help us as an agency in order to, expand opportunities for people with disabilities. I will probably help you to reach out to other individuals across Nigeria doing different things in different states, so that you can be able, any state of your choice you would like to support, please, I will be able to help you in doing that. We need support, because as I said, the challenge we have is that the political class do not understand what we are talking about. The political class are struggling to support our issue. And that is why when we are speaking like this, when they listen to it, it creates avenue for them to begin to think on areas they can come in order for us to get what belongs to us. Because as I always say, disability is not a respecter of person. It does not respect class. It does not respect social status. When it occurs, it will occur, and you will not know the one that will occur before you. Even if you do not get, your family member or your neighbor or your relative may probably get disability. When it happens, what do you do? So we need support. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. David. And that takes me to my own last question. One of our participants from Yola mentioned something that you have spoken about. He said, we need to amplify the help that we give to this commission. And you have told us where we can locate the national body. That's the National Commission for People Living with Disabilities, Plateau House in Abuja. So I wanted to ask, the question I want to ask before we round off this session is, do you have people in the National Assembly that are pushing bills that are related to people living with disabilities?
We have, at the House of Rep, we have a House Committee on Persons with Disabilities. At the Senate, we don't have a committee on persons with disabilities. So it's expected that the House Committee on Persons with Disabilities will be able to coordinate response of the National Assembly around people with disabilities. The issue is not about having a committee. The bulk of the issue is about the capacity and capability of the individuals that are on this committee, recognizing that none of these members of this committee is a person with disability. So, as you know how politicians behave, there are two things that runs the vein of every politician. One is, how do I win election? Two is, how do I make money? So when these two things are there, you see that there's a way they think, there's a way they think. So if you understand National Assembly very well, I can't say now that there is this particular individual in the National Assembly I can call a disability champion. I don't see any. The Speaker of House of Representatives do not have a special assistant of person with disability. So also the Senate President do not have a technical advisor on disability. So if the Speaker do not have a special advisor on disability, and there is no mechanism within the National Assembly to respond to disability issues, we've not gotten there. We continue to push, we continue to advocate, to say National Assembly must be accessible, National Assembly must be inclusive, National Assembly must create a mechanism to ensure that everyone participates in its processes, be it legislation, be it oversight, be it representation. People with disabilities need to be in all facets of the processes of National Assembly. As of today, we have not seen it. Not only at National Assembly, including state assemblies. Because what they do is to say, oh, Christmas is around the corner. How many bags of rice are we going to give to one school for people with disabilities? So when they do it, they take pictures and they feel good. But that's not the issue. But we continue to build capacity, we continue to speak, we continue to sensitize. And that is why I must commend the American Corner Center, American Space, for, highlighting this issue. I will continue to request that in your subsequent program activities, please mainstream disability so that we can be able to continue to push and for our people to understand the intersectionality between disability and other phases of human life. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. And one thing I'm taking away from this program today is that you need to be very loud about your issue. If you don't speak, you don't have someone that is speaking for you, and you cannot speak for yourself, nobody will understand what your situation is. Thank you so much, David Anyaele and Egwuonwu, for coming on this program. And like you have advised, we will always consider the persons living with disabilities in our programs. And this session has also opened our eyes on how to make our spaces very inclusive, according to the question that was asked from American Corner Calabar. Director, American Corner Calabar, would you like to help us to appreciate our speakers as we round off today?
Hey. So I want to say a big thank you to our speakers today. We appreciate the fact that against technology, we made it happen. So we say thank you for helping our participants get to receive more information on how to, first, as the persons living with disability, information on how to access some basic things, and also for we like to be able to have it for giving us the opportunity to help them understand that we can all work inclusively. And also a very big thank you to the US mission in Nigeria. They have always made it possible for American spaces to experience that inclusive programming. For example, if you come to Calabar, as well as some of our centers, the persons with wheelchair can always access our hall, okay? And that's one of the things the people we're hearing in prep seated here appreciated about the center. So we say thank you for coming on board. Thank you, Mr. Itayo. Thank you, Auntie Josephine. Thank you, all of our directors, for making it possible for us to have this session. And I know that we have all learned one or two things. And I want to drop a particular website. It's called Mobility International. It's a website that can help you access a lot of information on how to live better as persons living with disability. Just Google Mobility International. Okay, Google Mobility International, you'll be able to read a whole lot about how to access other resources that will help you live better inclusively. Thank you so much.
A round of applause to our American Corner Calabar director. And another round of applause for our facilitators this morning, Egwuonwu, sorry for the way I pronounce the name, and Daniel Anyaele. Did I get it right?
Yeah, you
Thank you.
did.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you. And we know that with your effort, things will get better with people living with disabilities in Nigeria. We'd like to appreciate all our directors in American Spaces in Nigeria for making sure that we all participated in this program this morning. We also want to appreciate our audiences. Thank you so much for always coming around. And like our director in Calabar said, we believe you have learned one or two things on this program. I have learned so many things this morning. And my approach to people that are living with disabilities around me is going to improve. We'd like to remind us that on Thursday, we are continuing our 16 days of gender-based violence program on this platform. We'd like to encourage you to come and participate, to unite against gender violence on social media. Then we are also going to have another program next week, Monday, on the 9th, International Anti-Corruption Day. So we like to invite you to join and participate in all this program. The US government is bringing all this program even to us to make sure that we are equipped, we are informed, and we are empowered. Thank you so much. See you on Thursday at 11. Have a nice day.
Okay, sorry.